this past weekend, and I watched one show. And my brother's pretty big on imaging, and I think he said something to the effect of, John Singleton, the late John Singleton, rest in power. He gave us Boys in the Hood and Baby Boy, and he was a producer in Snowfall. His name comes up when you watch the credits. And I believe what my brother said, because sometimes I get it wrong, what my brother said, and he says, you know what, I didn't say that, I said this. But I think his thing was messaging and imaging. And I think that my brother's point was, haven't we seen enough Black people in these roles as drug dealers and as gangsters? And he said, it's surprising John Singleton didn't think to create another story or to produce another story. And that kind of stood out to me a little bit as well. I see some new people coming in here. Have Faith says, by season 4, it becomes so grisly. It's almost a horror flick. Still a good show, and I'll watch season 5. But the level of violence is quite elevated. And maybe I'm not in the drug game myself. I was never in there. I was never running the streets myself. So maybe this is actually what it's like, especially in Southern California, where you have melanated foundational Black Americans in the drug game, and you also have South Americans. But going back to what my brother said, in terms of imaging and messaging, hey, what we know about the media, whether it's the mainstream media or what we know about pop culture, images and messaging matters. And there's a large segment of the population who believes what they see. And there's a large population, a large segment of the population who will emulate what they see on television. And going back to the Cosby Show, which was a controversial show for a lot of people, a lot of people didn't believe what they saw on the Cosby Show. And they said that this is not real. There are no affluent, well-to-do Black families. Why did Bill Cosby create the show? And I think there actually are, and there actually were, and there actually are affluent, upper middle class Black families. And I think that was one of the reasons why Bill Cosby wanted to create that show. And that was to show something different than Good Times or What's Happening, or shows where we just saw Black families struggling to make it, struggling in the streets, and just struggling. Bill Cosby wanted to show something else. So, and that arguably was one of the reasons why, even though we know why Bill Cosby got taken down, in terms of the scandal, it's been speculated that the real reason he was taken down is because he wanted to show positive images of Black people. So, going back to my brother's point, I think this was his point. It's surprising that, and maybe if John Singleton had lived a little bit longer, because he passed away, I think, from cancer, maybe he would have tried to put out some more positive imaging of Black people. But I would agree that we've seen, just like we've probably seen our fair share of slave movies. That's something else my brother's very passionate about. He's tired of watching slave movies. I think he didn't even want to watch 12 Years a Slave. The argument could be made that we've seen enough slave movies, and the argument could be made that we've seen enough Black drug dealers, such as Franklin and such as Ghost. Have we seen enough of those? Are we choking on those? And what's the benefit of continuing to show these images? Why not show more Black scientists like myself?